Hey, Mark Allen here. Thanks for watching Four Color Commentary. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever gone out and found just a great deal on some comic or comic-related item, and you just had to share it? You just wanted. We like to do that. All of us comic book collectors, we like to do that. We like to, as fans, we like to show off our finds, and we like to just kind of share. And it's never in a sense rubbing anybody's nose in it, but it's just kind of like, oh, look what I found, and we all like that. So what I wanted to do was, as I've mentioned before, I believe we have. I live in Oklahoma and in northeastern Oklahoma, and we have out here we have vintage stock stores, and just about every vintage stock I've ever been in has a dollar comics section, and lots of comics for $1, and comics and comic related stuff, magazines, that kind of thing. And I wanted to just kind of share some of the unusual and best finds, some of the best finds I've ever gotten out of the dollar box. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in, because they're everything from magazines to comics to trade paperbacks to other things. So I'm going to start with a recent find. These are all within the last 2 or 3 years, but a recent find in the dollar box right here. Volume 1 of the Batman Superman, or Superman Batman, whichever you like, series that was done by Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness. Great, lots of fun stories in there. I really like Ed McGuinness' style. He's obviously a fan favorite. Draws the characters big, muscular, just kind of just a really good action-oriented style. But anyway, found that in a dollar box, and that is without any major flaws or anything. I mean, sharp corners, a little bit of peeling here of the laminate at the bottom of the cover, but so what? For $1, that's a great read. And so that's just a great find there. Also, now here's one. Now that I've read before. This I'd never read and found just recently in the dollar box, and it's the Green Lantern Rebirth, which I'd never read that. I haven't read any of the modern day Green Lantern stuff. I hadn't read Green Lantern really since the mid to late 90s. And so this was interesting. I thought, well, I found this in the dollar box. I mean, retailed at $14.99, and so Jeff Johns, Ethan Van Sciver doing that series there, and Prentice Rollins, who I've never even really heard of, but because once again, I'm an old comics guy. All right, old curmudgeon, some may say. But anyway, I thought that's worth a read for $1, and so found that. Now here's one again. I'm not about the farthest I've ever gone into the genre of horror comics. Just recently, trying to think of the guy's name who came up with the creator of The Goon, and now Eric Powell, I believe that's right. And recently, he kind of did a series. He wasn't the only artist, but Spookhouse. I think it was a 5 or 6 issue limited series. I bought that, enjoyed that. That was a fun read. But I never was a big Creepy fan, but I did find a Creepy number 19 not too long ago. There's my computer. Not too long ago, I found a Creepy number 19 in the dollar box, and in very decent shape. Pretty sharp corners, a little bit of wear on the cover, wear at the bottom of the spine. But Creepy number 19, I forgot to even look at the. I did before, but I looked at the date earlier. I can't remember when that was published. Let me look at it, because I know nothing about Creepy the magazine. And Creepy number 19, 40-cent cover price. That's going back a ways. So, okay, so Creepy number 19 was published 1967. Okay, so that's a Silver Age find. You can see the gloss on that. Dollar box, okay? Dollar box. Dollar box is a good place to look. If you've got any place that has rows and rows of dollar comics, you just never know what you'll find there. And so that was a great find. I was happy to find that. Now, in all honesty, that's going to be flipped. That's the kind of thing that I find and put up on eBay. Now we're getting ready to make a move, so I'm not doing a whole lot of eBay right now. Waiting to see where we land in a few weeks. But anyway, I'm just kind of you hold on to stuff like that, and then whenever you're wanting to build up a little bit of capital for buying more comics, you flip. Okay, you sell stuff. You all know how that works. Hang on just a second. I'll turn my space heater off because it's kind of loud. All right, here we go. All right, so there's the creepy number 19. Now, on Black Friday, the last Black Friday, at a local comic store in Tulsa called Wizards Asylum. They have great Black Friday sales, by the way. I believe they do the same on Free Comic Book Day. But on Black Friday, they have their wall books. All of their wall books are $5. One of these days, I'll have to get out some of my $5 wall books that I got at Wizards on Black Fridays, a couple of different Black Fridays. But these I found on a Black Friday. Some people like Fred Hembeck. Fred Hembeck is the artist who's worked for Marvel and DC and Independence. He has the very unique style, very cartoony style, where his characters have the knobby knees and elbows. He's done Fred Hembeck Destroys the Marvel Universe. I believe he's done Fred Hembeck Destroys the DC Universe, or was supposed to at some point. But Fred Hembeck did he had a series of magazines come out, and it turned out at this Black Friday sale, I got all of them except number one, the first magazine. Now here's the problem: not all of them have numbers on the covers, but this was a Hembeck. I'm just going to kind of go through them here, and this one actually is says the best of Dateline by Fred Hembeck, and so there's that one. Okay, and so these what I found I mentioned these were Black Friday pickups. I actually ended up getting these for about 40 to 50 cents per copy, per issue. All right, Abbott and Costello meet the Bride of Hembeck, and you have a strange crossover there with the Martian Manhunter and the Human Torch. I guess I should show the backs of these because the backs of these have fully illustrated covers as well. And Hembeck isn't for everybody, but lots of people do like him. I like Fred Hembeck. The world's goofiest comic magazine, Bah Hembeck. Okay, and of course his parody there of the Fantastic Four, and Hembeck himself as Doctor Doom. And then on the back you have a parody of Superman and different colored Superman. And so again, 40 to 50 cents a piece. You couldn't beat it. I really like his crossover covers. This next one is Jimmy Olsen's pal, Fred Hembeck. And you have several different Marvel and DC characters there with the goofy glasses with the eyebrows and mustaches on them. And not only on the front cover, but also on the back. And so just a kind of a fun book. And Jimmy Olsen's pal, Fred Hembeck. And then we had in this group Dial H for Hembeck. Dial H for Hembeck with the Teen Titans on the front there, and then on the back, on the front it's Teen Titans. On the back you have some Marvel and DC heroes. All right, coming at Hembeck there, and so what was that one? Then there was Hembeck 1980 and Plight of the Color Absorbing Superheroes. And of course I really like how that black and white cover makes the heroes pop, man. I like that splash of color in the middle. And then on the back has an EC homage, EC Comics homage to their sci-fi comics. I guess that would be science fiction, fantasy, or whatever. I'm not very knowledgeable on the old EC comics, but that's obviously an homage to those comics. All right. Okay, so Hembeck. That was a great Hembeck haul for that one sale, that one Black Friday sale at Wizards Asylum in Tulsa. Now, here's a couple of other things, different things. I never read that many independents, all right? But there's if you're like me and you know a little bit about comic book history and rarity of some books, you'll go ahead and pick something up again just to have. It's good to have, especially in this age of comic book movies. And that's a whole other thing, interesting thing to me. For comic book fans have for years known that there was a wealth of interesting stories and characters and with great motivations and all this kind of stuff in comic books. and really we're just waiting for Hollywood to catch up with the medium of comics, waiting for the special effects to catch up, and they're here now. And we've got some great comic book movies out there. Well, so you find stuff like this, or I do, and I grab onto it. And the first one is A Distant Soil #1. Now, I found that in a dollar box within the last couple of years. A Distant Soil, of course, being an independent title, and so I picked that up just because it #1, #1 issue, but not the first appearance. The first appearance of that, or the first chapter of A Distant Soil is right here, and I found it as well in the dollar box a couple of years ago. ElfQuest #16 with the first appearance of A Distant Soil. All right, first appearance of that, first chapter of that story, and again, never been a big ElfQuest fan, but I knew that issue was significant at the time. I had to go online and find out why, but I knew ElfQuest 16 was significant to the independent comic market. All right, so there was that. I actually have 2 copies of those, yes, both, found in the dollar box. And then also, the same day that I found those 2 right there, I found ElfQuest #1. Now, this is not the actual ElfQuest #1. ElfQuest, this was the first one for, this was the Pennies. It was their first, not their first independent foray, but this was the first issue of ElfQuest for their company, Warp Graphics, and Warp standing, of course, for Wendy and Richard Penny, and Warp spells Warp, and so, or the acrostic spells Warp, and so I don't remember which company it was. Maybe one of you do, but ElfQuest #1 actually appeared first published by another company. But they call it the little #1 or something like that now in hindsight. Wendy and Richard do. But there was some things they didn't like about it. The quality wasn't quite up to what they were hoping, and so they decided to republish the first issue with additional material, I believe. Also, well, additional material, sketches and that kind of thing, but also I think changed the story up just a little bit. But also had this great painted cover. By Wendy Penny, and just great stuff. And so that was, you see that in a dollar box, you don't pass that up. All right, couple of comics related items here. First one, this was just recently found. I found this just recently. X-Men Hero Caps. Anybody remember caps, or pogs as we used to call them? I'll tell you what, I lived in Hawaii for about 15 months, and I have a framed. I have all my pogs that I got in Hawaii framed. If anybody for those of you who know anything about pogs, their milk caps, pogs, originated in Hawaii, and so I've got a bunch of ones that I used to have up on my wall framed. They're foil stamped, and most of them are from local businesses in Hawaii. I'll have to show that off sometime, but right now, quite honestly, it's just buried. So because it's not up on my wall anymore. But there's 9 X-Men Hero Pogs here, all right, and found these just recently in the dollar box at Vintage Stock, and I think it was 1993. These are still shrink wrapped, by the way, with the plastic on them. 1993. We have a Jim Lee presentation of Jubilee there at the bottom of that cover, and so yeah, I've got some. I don't know who did the cover art on the front, but it's not Jim Lee. But that Jubilee was Jim Lee. So anyway, some pogs. And now related to that, or hero caps. So related to that, these sky caps. Actually, I found I'd had them before in the 90s during DC's Reign of Superman saga, but I found them again recently in the dollar box. And again, these 5 Superman related. Pogs, hero caps, or sky caps, whatever you want to call them. But of course, got the Cyborg, Superman, and Steel, and the Eradicator and Superboy on there, and then the DC emblem. Which that, by the way, is my favorite DC emblem of all time. But that's what the DC emblem was when I was growing up. And even though I didn't read a whole lot of DC, that's my favorite. That's my favorite one. That's my favorite representation of the DC emblem. Now, this next item was something just recently picked up in the dollar box, and I've never seen this before. Everyone who's been reading comics for a while is familiar with Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars. Well, this is Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars Sticker Adventures. All right. This is one of those things that just, again, comics related collectibles. Not real typical to find this. I mean, it's just not just out there in the wild a whole lot. Unfortunately, quite a bit of damage, of spine damage there, and got a price sticker over here that I was really kind of afraid to peel off. But just like the cover art, got Spider-Man's got his shield there, like the toys. They had all the action figures had their shields, and inside are just you've got you got some stickers. And everything, the thing about this book, nothing has been used. Everything's still there. The stickers are still there, and there's some more stickers. And then you see what the pages look like that you can put the stickers on, and everything. Though the spine has got plenty of problems, everything is still there. Nothing is used. Not a single sticker peeled off, which I thought that was kind of cool to find that. And to still have all of that intact, so that was neat. That's a neat dollar box find. Now, there's also, and I just realized I forgot to get a few things out that I was going to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video for just a moment, and we'll go forward from there. All right, we're back. Thank goodness for the pause button, elapsed time, and all that. Okay, back to great finds in the dollar boxes. I like fanzines, and I like comics news magazines. I always have. The reason being that I like comic book history, and I like the history of the characters, the creators, all of that, the publication, all of the world of comics. I like the history of it. But also you get great exclusive art on some of those covers. Some of the comic magazines are worth having. Some of the comic news magazines and fanzines are worth having for the art alone. So the articles notwithstanding, but the articles are just they're plus. So these are all comics that I've found, or comic book magazines that I've found in the dollar boxes. And the first one here, we've got 3 issues of something called the Comic Times. This is Comic Times #1. And this is a great cover here by various artists. There's a John Romita Thor and some Buscema art on there, I believe. Just a great cover on that Comic Times #1, and so just a great, and just lots of good articles in there, and some interesting characterizations or some interesting drawings by artists I've never heard of, like a Spider-Man by someone named Owen Long. Okay, Spider-Man as you've never seen him before. All right, okay, and then just different various characters and drawings and news and that kind of thing. So the publication date on this was well, here we go, 1980. Okay, so 1980 for issue 1 of the Comic Times. Also found issue 4 of the Comic Times in the dollar box. This one's not in nearly as good a shape, but a beautiful Charles Vess cover on that of a dragon and a wizard. And you just got a lot. If you like fantasy art and you like Charles Vess, I mean, this was worth it. This was worth a buck, just for that. And then there is also on the back an ad for a Bernie Wrightson title called The Mutants. Okay, so a great, just a neat cover art on this magazine, and again, some of the same articles and that kind of thing in this comics news magazine. Also, kind of a cross between a fanzine and a news magazine. All right, now that was issue number 4. That kind of got ahead of myself on that one, because I also found issue number 3 of the Comic Times with a great, wonderful George Perez Teen Titans cover on there. And just a great cover done by Perez for the Comic Times. And again, 1980 publication date. And just a great, just a neat magazine. Lots of fun to read, and just a lot of good stuff in there. All right. Okay, so now related to this, this was a the great Perez cover on there, Teen Titans cover. Also related to that is these last couple of dollar box finds. Another Perez cover, Amazing Heroes, or the best of Amazing Heroes, #1, with another George Perez cover, Teen Titans cover. All right. I don't know quite what's going on with the coloring on Starfire there. Her hair kind of bled into her skin there, and they're the same color. Her hair should be darker than that. But this was another one of those that earlier. I think this was published in 1982 or 83, although the cover illustration is dated 81. Okay, so 1982 publication date. But just a great, another great comic book related magazine, fanzine, news zine, whatever you want to call it, and just a beautiful cover on that. And lastly, I'm a Paul Smith fan. I really like the art of Paul Smith, and in my mind, hey, he hasn't done enough. But this is Amazing Heroes. At some point, shrank down. It started out a full-size magazine and then got smaller. But this is Amazing Heroes #12 with a great Paul Smith X-Men cover. Again, dollar box find. These are great. Dollar box finds are one of those things that you got to be willing to dig, man. You go into a dollar box, or for that matter, an antique store or anything like that. You got to be willing to dig for those treasures. And I've spent way too much time probably over the years digging through the cheap boxes, but it does pay off from time to time. And I'm happy to say I've had times when I've had my kids and even my wife down in there digging in those boxes, and that's just a lot of fun. All right. Anyway, hey, just wanted to share with you some of my finds, some of my dollar finds. Subscribe if you like the videos, and come back to visit to see more videos, and leave some comments about what are some of your best finds. What are some of your greatest finds in the cheap comic section? It could be anywhere from 25 cents to 50 cents, $1, $3, whatever. But I mean, man, I know other collectors find bargains out there all the time, and so share some of your bargains. You feel free to use my video to link to some of your videos as well. But I like to hear about collectors finding great bargains. Hey, listen, thanks for watching, and come back again. But thanks for watching 4 Color Commentary.